Very warm welcome. You're watching Plain Speak. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. Today is Bangladesh's first general election since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina in August 2024. And that's what makes this political vote a major turning point. The contest is largely seen as a bipolar contest. The BNP, led by Tariq Rahman, is facing an 11-party alliance led by Jamaat-e-Islami. That includes the student-backed NCP as well. Sheikh Hasina's Awami League, which won the last 4 parliamentary elections, has been barred. So yes, this is the first electoral test of Bangladesh's political transition. But in the build-up to today, the hopes for a democratic setup have been dimmed. Because Ms. Hasina's ouster has been followed by persistent violence, bureaucratic and industrial strikes, even disruptive protests and political uncertainty. The credibility of today's vote has already been called into question. Why? From political violence to accusations of vote buying and attacks on journalists, all have raised concerns over the fairness of these polls, raising a harsh question about Bangladesh. Will democracy ever prevail in a country where its own state institutions, from legislature to the judiciary or executives, have all been hollowed out? So on polling day itself, it's absolute chaos on the streets of Dhaka. Let's take you to the visuals that we are bringing to you over here on Plain Speak. In these visuals, you can see the Jamaat workers are attempting to capture booth. Is this what you call a free and fair election? These now are going to be visuals from Chattogram. Here, the BNP candidate's office has been set ablaze. Nothing new to Bangladesh, especially after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. The allegation has been made against Jamaat-e-Islami. There are more visuals that we are bringing to you from Chattogram. Here, the Jamaat workers have been caught on camera. They are casting fake votes. In fact, there's also been ballot capturing as far as booths are concerned. We're also looking at boxing of ballots. In Mirpur area, the Jamaat worker was in fact even nabbed with weapons. So today itself has been plagued by political violence. Now remember, what also makes this election extremely significant is that there is a parallel July Charter referendum also taking place. But with Jamaat emerging as the front runner, there are few concerns for India as well. Let's break those down for you. The national security and insurgency on our own borders, especially when it comes to Bengal. Remember, they are accused of providing sanctuary to insurgent groups. Will India be able to control this if especially Jamaat were to come to power? The safety of minorities, the Hindu minorities, we've seen how they've been targeted ever since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina in August of 2024. There have been repeated targeted attacks on Hindus. That's also fueled significant anxiety against the minority community. Bangladesh's recent alignment with Pakistan could get more boost if it's a government-led influence by Jamaat. You could also see Bangladesh tie up with Turkey if the Jamaat were to come to power. They might tilt closer to Islamabad though. Connectivity projects will then eventually take a hit if a hardline government disrupts existing frameworks at the moment. There's already a rise of radicalism. Student wing Islami Chhatra Shibir's rise has already indicated the shift towards radicals among the youth. Let's not forget that one of the student leaders was also shot dead. But in a significant departure from the past, the Jamaat is making a shift in the narrative. What do they stand to gain? Well, the party nominated a Hindu candidate, Krishna Nandi, for the 2026 elections and even formed a non-Muslim committee in several districts. Leaders now publicly assert that minorities should have full citizenship rights. Are these empty promises? Well, we'll be taking that forward with our guests in just a bit. As far as Bangladesh polls are concerned, let's talk about radical resurgence. Is there going to be concern for India? That's a question we'll be taking forward with our guests in just a bit.
It's going to be a huge challenge both for the BNP on one side and the Jamaat on the other Both of them claim to be inclusive parties, but the reality on the ground has clearly proved otherwise.
We are the people who protected the minority the most. Yes, we have some, the disagreement is maybe possible, but we have some common goals. Most of these things is the common goals.
Let's quickly go across to Pallavi Ghosh, who's joining me live from Dhaka. Pallavi has been tracking Bangladesh situation for quite some time, not just the elections. Pallavi, thank you for joining in. I hope you're safe. To begin with, there have been 5 detainees in the build-up to the election. One of them includes a Jamaat member. The other is, in fact, a polling officer. Is it even safe to say that this has been a free and fair election?
Well, officially the voting has begun, so that's the counting has begun. So that's the quick update we can get for you. According to Election Commission, the voting has been up to 50% and the official figure should be out anytime soon. We are also expecting that the results could be declared by a little bit over midnight or possibly early tomorrow morning. But as you rightly pointed out, Akanksha, this time the elections are different because apart from voting for the government, there's also a vote on the referendum. Well, I mean, free and fair, when those pictures start coming out, Dhaka has been more or less very peaceful. But even in the Hindu-dominated areas, there has been a underlying apprehension, a fear. Many of them said that we want to go and cast our votes because we don't want to be marked as boycotting it. So there were these worried signs very much there about security. In fact, much of Dhaka, we saw the army out in many pockets. There were 10 to 11 areas in Dhaka which has been marked as being extremely sensitive. So while they were able to control the situation in the capital of Bangladesh, when you step out of the capital areas like Khulna, Chattogram or Chittagong, in all those areas there have been many incidents of arm twisting, threatening the voters, intimidating them, clashes between the BNP and Jamaat, because it's actually a do or die election for both the stakeholders, which perhaps goes on to explain and maybe I will understand why the tempers are so high. Both the BNP and the Jamaat know that this is now or never, and that is why they have put a lot of effort into trying and ensure that their voters come out to cast vote for them.
All right, many thanks to you, Pallavi, for bringing us all those latest details. Remember, the election results are going to be out by tomorrow, and we will keep bringing you all those latest updates through Pallavi, who's been tracking the developments for us. With that, let me quickly open the floor to our guests. I'm joined in by Salahuddin Shoaib Chaudhry, who's a Bangladeshi journalist, also joined in by Asif Bin Ali, who's a geopolitical analyst, a doctoral fellow at the Georgia State University in the United States. Many thanks to you, gentlemen. I am expecting more guests, but Shoaib, if I could begin with you, you're looking at a very challenging political climate. For 4 decades, we've seen a contest between BNP and the Awami League. This time around, the Awami League has been barred. So you're technically looking at a contest between the BNP and an 11-member alliance led by the Jamaat. What is different this time around?
The difference is, frankly speaking, now BNP and Jamaat Islami, they have almost similar ideology. We can say that they are ideological brethren, and both of them are in favor of indirectly. Jamaat is in favor of caliphate rule. At the same time, BNP is in favor of Islamic rule. So this is the distinctively different, that there is no secularist vote during this election which has been held in this country. And second thing is that BNP and Jamaat Islami both are Yunus loyalists, because for the last 18 months both the parties have excellent relations with Yunus. And I cannot draw a difference between Yunus or NCP or BNP or Jamaat, because they sound like they are from the same club.
Asif Bin Ali, is it even fair to call it a free and fair election, given that you've had detainees, one including a polling officer, the other being a Jamaat member? They're all been caught red-handed carrying money. You're seeing the way there's been, the ballot boxes are being captured at the moment. There's much violence that has led to in the run-up to these elections, 2 deaths also, in fact, have taken place. What is one to make of these election results as and when they arrive?
Well, before I start answering your question, I just want to point out one thing.
Just a moment to introduce Veena Sikri, who's the former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, who's also joined in. Many thanks to you, Ms. Sikri. Yes, please go ahead.
So what my co-panelist was saying, that the Jamaat and BNP are the same party and they're Islamist, I disagree with that. Jamaat is definitely Islamist, and BNP has given shelter to them over the years. And actually BNP has given them the breathing space which allowed them to operate largely. But putting the two parties in the same frame would be very injustice to the political truth and the fact that we have. Now moving towards your question, the election violence that we are right now seeing, definitely it's very alarming, and there is no doubt to defend those violence activities. And particularly for last 2 days, Jamaat and BNP, depending their power in different areas, they have participated in intimidation, but the more cases are coming against Jamaat. Traditionally speaking, in Bangladesh, we expect that the bigger parties will be more violent and the smaller parties would be less violent. But this time it has happened otherwise. It has been seen that the Jamaat has become more violent compared to the BNP, but that doesn't mean that BNP was also free from not participating in some of the cases. But if you put it in the larger perspective of Bangladesh election data, because I work on Bangladesh election data very closely as well, the number of deaths that happened in this election, like during the election day, that is 4, and that number is not because of the election violence, that because of some of the health reason. Okay, like one of the person, he had a heart attack, so he died. But like, for example, if we look back in the last election in Bangladesh, like only the 2018 election, there were 18 deaths. Even the election was just only Awami League and was participating, there were 18 deaths. If we go back to the more past, like in 2001 and 2 elections, there were more than like a couple of dozens of deaths. So, and the numbers of like detainees are very high. Like, for example, when Awami League was leading the election in 2024, it was, the detainees number was 11,700. So I'm not saying that this election
the interesting part to everything that you're stating right now over here on primetime television, Asif bin Ali, is that the party that you are accusing of resorting to violence has been barred from election, from contesting, is not even there to defend its case. So I have to take this forward.
First of all, Awami League is not responsible for this violence. Okay.
No, but you're comparing the figures. You're comparing the figures with the tenure of Sheikh Hasina, right? So I don't think it's even a fair. It's not even a fair yardstick at the moment, given that a political party under a democratic regime that's expected to be democratic has been barred from contesting elections. Shoaib, would you like to respond to that, given that we have enough video evidence of the kind of violence that has been plaguing this election, one that was supposed to be extremely significant, the kind of ballot rigging that's taking place, the way in Chattogram we've seen the office of a BNP candidate being set on fire. How do you respond to Asif when he's drawing that comparison with past elections?
Is that for me?
Yeah. You were asking me, right?
Yes, sure. Please go ahead.
In 2018, the 2018 election of Awami League, now BNP, Jamaat and others, they branded, accused it that the election took place on the previous night. Now, today's election, actually it began yesterday afternoon, ballot stuffing, openly. We have all the video evidences. We have seen the evidences on TV channels and social media, number one. Number two, never in my life I have seen, even Her Excellency was in this country, we have never seen that during the previous night or day of the election, such as millions and millions of takas were recovered from the positions of political parties were distributing. I'm talking about Jamaat Islam and PNP both. I mean, this is a very one-sided stage drama. Still they were distributing money because, as I said, Jamaat PNP are political, ideological brethren. Still they were distributing money because for the Jamaat is the first time an opportunity of emerging into a ruling party, and for BNP It was the risk of letting Jamaat become a ruling party.
Asif
Because
bin
Jamaat,
Ali, how do you respond to that? Because as far as distribution of money is concerned, Jamaat member has been caught red-handed on camera. We have footage to back that claim. So is this the new normal for Bangladesh elections?
Jamaat member has been caught red-handed in election, like carrying a large sum of money, which is very unusual of that amount at that time. And also there are other cases where we have seen some Jamaat party members and the preacher, like those who are participating in the election campaign, they have handed over some money. And so basically, I'm not surprised, The reason why I'm not surprised, because this election has become like do or die kind of situation. The tension is so high. Like both the parties, Jamaat and BNP, are trying to win. And Jamaat finds this is their one of the chance that they have to win. And they are ready to do anything that they can do. So I cannot deny the use and abuse of money in the election. But just one point that I'm trying to make in my previous point was as well, like, see, framing the entire election as not free, fair, or credible would be very unjust position regarding the election, because this election cannot be, I cannot tell it like it's 100% free and fair election, but I can say it is relatively free and fair compared to the previous elections on the three ground. If you want to challenge me on that three ground. The first ground is the media was free, media was allowed to go there freely. The second, there was like almost 200 plus international journalists covering the election from the ground, which had not happened in the past three elections. The last time we had this number of journalists was in 2008 when Sheikh Hasina were the victorious party, Awami League, in a landslide victory, and that was one of the most acceptable election as well. And also the number of international observers, this time more than like around 300 to 400 international observers have been, like visiting the Bangladesh and also looking at the elections. That's also a high number. You know the number of international observers that came in Bangladesh to view the election in 2018? That is less than, like, the credible one, of course. That is less than like 50 institutions
I want to
only came.
quickly make your point, Asif, because I have to take a rebuttal from Shoaib and then I need to go to Ambassador as well.
Aksha, the observers, 500 observers this time, I'm saying on record, most of them were provided air ticket, hotel, and pocket money by the Yunus regime. So they are not observers. They're hired spectators to give an endorsement to this election. This is the biggest farce drama happened in this country. International journalists, every time. I'm a journalist. Every time. Hundreds of international journalists came to this country to cover election. Even in 2018, hundreds of foreign journalists were in this country. This is not history. But the history is Yunus has hired the foreign observers with air ticket, hotel accommodation, and pocket money. And I'm saying it on record. So there are no foreign observers except from those from the European Union and some other countries who want Jamaat Islami to win the election or let Yunus remain in power.
Okay.
So this is a well-orchestrated drama of United States, European Union, Britain, and other foreign interest groups.
Ambassador Sikri, we are talking at a time when we've seen one of the leading political parties being disqualified. That in itself raises questions about the democratic setup of a country. More importantly, you're talking about Muhammad Yunus, who promised reforms. He was somebody who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his microfinance. None of that, in fact, arrived in Bangladesh. Bangladesh continues to battle cost of living crisis. Inflation is projected at over 8.5% at the moment. How do you think Bangladesh is going to look at the regime of Muhammad Yunus? He's leaving with several critics, in fact, questioning him at the moment.
Absolutely, I agree that this election is not an election. It's a selection, because the biggest single political party in Bangladesh, the Awami League, has been excluded. 40% of the vote share in most elections, a minimum 25, ranging up to 40, has gone to Awami League in every single election held in Bangladesh. What is the Jamaat-e Islami afraid of? because the only two cadre-based organizations in Bangladesh are the Jamaat-e-Islami and the Awami League. So clearly the Jamaat-e-Islami thought that they would benefit the most by the Awami League not coming. And this person who's mentioning about 200 people coming as journalists, do you know that more than 58 or 60 of them are from Pakistan? There was a list published, actually. The Pakistan High Commissioner in Dhaka is supposed to have a big reception for all these huge numbers of people who come from Pakistan, from one country, Pakistan, the newfound friend of Bangladesh, who is now embedding themselves in the Bangladesh army. The people of Bangladesh are forgetting their connection with the liberation war, the values of the liberation war being forgotten. All the language. Can you imagine February's language Mother Day? This is the day we recognize, the Bangladesh people recognize their allegiance to Bengali language and literature. And this is the day, the month in which they laid down their lives for the Bengali language. And in this very month, the elections are being held, and thanks to Jamaat-e-Islami in Pakistan, the campaigning has been in Urdu. There could not be a worse hit upon the pride of the people of Bangladesh.
From the ISI footprint.
And the people of Bangladesh have understood all of this, and that is why they have kept away from the election.
Asif bin Ali, would you like to respond to that? Would you like to respond to that?
No, there's a very poor turnout there. I know.
Yes,
I was on
of
another
course.
show, 60, 70%. Actually, the response is so low. There's been nothing. All the booths are lying empty, and the people have voted with their feet by keeping away from the election.
I mean, we have enough video evidence to back that from Chattogram itself all the way. I mean, Dhaka may have seen peace because we all know why so, given it's the country's capital. But Asif bin Ali, there's a lot of ISI footprint, not just you're looking at them getting space in the High Commission there, but also all the way to cricket.
Absolutely.
Let me, at least, because there are so many rebuttals points, but I would not be able to do that.
I appreciate your patience. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So let me have the 3-point rebuttal. One is the point regarding international observers have been paid and given hotel locations and others. I do not have the data to confirm that. At least I would depend on credible local or international media coming up with the receipts that, okay, this is how government paid them. And I think it's fair to be very cautious about one individual's position rather than verified sources. The second one, regarding Ambassador Veena Sikri, what she was saying, regarding the Pakistani journalists, do you know how many Indian journalists are covering this report? If you check the Bangladesh embassy list of Indian journalists going and covering this report, the number is more than 30. That's a significant number. Now, if I compare 50 Pakistan journalists is bad and 30 Indian journalists is good or bad, because Jamaat would consider the Indian journalists bad and then the Awami League will consider Pakistani journalists bad, we would not be sitting together and having that discussion. So we have to have basic understanding that, okay, fine, these journalists have been there, they're working. Let's consider their content. If they are misreporting, if they are wrong reporting,
geopolitical analyst such as you, I expect should have the understanding of, vouching or say advocating for free access to international journalists from all countries. It's not just about bracketing them as Indians or Pakistanis or Europeans or Americans, but it has to be access which is in equitable numbers, right?
Okay, now tell me, if 30 Indian journalists applied for the visa, have you seen a single cases where Indian journalists have been denied for visa? Was there a single case? Because I know at least 10 of the journalists who are working in India.
Quite frankly, I don't.
Can you have a single
let's also listen into what Ambassador Sikri has to say. Ambassador Sikri, please take your time.
I find it very trivial that we are spending all this time discussing whether 30, 40, 50. Please focus on the veracity of the election, the leaving out of the Awami League, the poor turnout, the way in which the Yunus regime has destroyed the Bangladesh economy.
I mean, it's shameful. We're talking on a day when the elections are happening, that too, after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina. How significant this is, I need not even emphasize. And the BNP spokesperson has refused to come on air. Awami League is not coming out in the open. They're saying that wait for the results, then we'll speak. Such is the plight of democracy in Bangladesh. Shoaib, I want to quickly bring you in on that referendum that we've been discussing, that ballot in itself, that entire document. I find that deeply problematic. How can you reduce a referendum to a question which says, are you in favor of a referendum that's going to bring constitutional reforms to Bangladesh? Yes or no? This is like Brexit. Are you choosing for the countries to leave Europe or not? Yes or no? How can we reduce a political referendum which is talking about constitutional reforms, which is talking about bringing changes to the polity of Bangladesh, to just a yes or no? Show it.
Kanksha, you see, this referendum asks people 4 questions. 4. But people are given only one option.
Which
Asking
is?
4 questions, yes, but only one option. You have to say yes or you have to say no. But there are questions, 4 options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 questions. But you have to say in one tick yes or no to the 4. So this referendum itself is a fraudulent action. And please note, I have already shared with many people, Her Excellency is also aware, that this referendum ballot, it does not contain any serial number.
True.
The election ballot has serial number, but this referendum ballot has no serial number. So it does not matter how many people have cast for yes or no. Yunus has the control. He will take it all together. And then even yesterday night, I have tweeted a video where it is seen that the ballot of the referendum was, people were camping on the ballot of the referendum. So the referendum is the main instrument for Yunus, and today Yunus was almost jumping like a kid. He was so happy. He said it's a grand Eid. Yes, it is grand Eid because this referendum gives indemnity to his criminal activities for the last 18 months. It gives the opportunity to him
I have to go
Bangladesh
to some breaking inputs coming in. Asif bin Ali, would you quickly want to come in on that? Why the referendum ballots have no numbers, no serial numbers? I don't care who stands to benefit. It could be Jamaat, it could be BNP, it could be Muhammad Yunus. I don't care. But tell me, what do you make of this ballot lacking a number? I mean, voting is not done like that.
First of all, this is, I don't think this is acceptable of having no number on the ballot. It should have been, if it is like a credible thing, it should have been a number.
Thank you for calling a spade a spade.
Yeah, can I add to that?
Sure.
I think that this whole exercise, that there is no provision for a referendum in the constitution of Bangladesh. There was no provision when Yunus was sworn in for an interim government. Whatever has happened in the last 18 months, including the referendum, is against the constitution of Bangladesh, and it is illegitimate. And I can tell you that the people of Bangladesh know it is illegitimate. That's why they haven't turned out to vote, because they don't want to vote on something illegitimate. So I think that one has to really call a spade and see. But the shocking part is that it is the Western democracies, so-called democracies, supporting these illegitimate events. The same British High Commissioner who in 2024 criticized Sheikh Hasina for BNP not being there in the elections, although BNP was never banned, but they chose not to participate. Today she is justifying the exclusion of Awami League and calling these elections participatory. And we know that an election which is not inclusive is not credible. How does... And would the Western democracies do this for themselves? Would they ban the Labour Party in the UK? Would they ban the Republican Party in the USA? They would never dream of doing it. It has not happened even in Sri Lanka, where the Rajapaksa government was brought down, but when the elections were held, his party was allowed to take part. So I think these essential questions of how this entire election has been structured with an artificial ban...
What beats me, Ambassador, is that when it comes to making changes to an electoral process, you're talking about bringing in anti-corruption measures. What is going to be the cost of it? What are going to be the larger implications of it? There has been no discussion with the people of Bangladesh. And as I said, it's been reduced to a yes or no. That is just again bringing the many referendums that Chile had witnessed, that Brexit witnessed. And I see a similar outcome happening in Bangladesh as well.
So who will accept that referendum? Which world country, which respectable democracy of the world can accept such a referendum result?
Let's also listen in to what the ousted leader has to say on a day like today. Sheikh Hasina's statement coming in, breaking inputs over there, for rejecting the sham election staged by the killer fascist Yunus, who seized power illegally and unconstitutionally. The leader of people, Sheikh Hasina, has expressed her thanks and gratitude to the masses at all levels, including mother sisters and communities. Today's so-called election organized by Yunus, who took power through illegal, unconstitutional means, was essentially a carefully planned farce, disregarding the people's voting rights, democratic values, and the spirit of the constitution. It's a deceptive election which was arranged without the Awami League and without the voters. Quick closing thoughts over here. Asif, to begin with you.
Well, first of all, the kind of politically loaded language, I mean, we are using when we are looking at the election.
This is Sheikh Hasina's
I find
statement.
it very problematic.
It is not politically loaded language.
I'm not talking about what Sheikh Hasina said. I think she has all right to say and to address her party members. There is no doubt about it. But I'm just saying, from the framing part, the way you and also our my honorable panelists, they have framed the entire election thing. It seems you're not giving the credit to the agency of Bangladesh people. You are only looking at what is the security framework and what what Yunus has done and what
because that is what democracy is supposed to ensure.
So the basic democracy foundation is giving
a strong
security
apparatus. I'm sorry, I'm not going to have you negate democracy and the right for people to cast their vote without a secure atmosphere. Ambassador Sikri. And keep in mind, Ambassador, the coming days will decide the foreign policy of Bangladesh towards New Delhi as well. How do you see a BNP governance versus, say, the Jamaat?
Well, I don't know whether it will be either a BNP government or a Jamaat government or a combination of the two. I think most likely, because if Yunus wants to extend his existence at the helm of affairs in Bangladesh as the president of Bangladesh.
True.
And that is why he's so focused on the referendum. So then he would like to have a national unity government with Jamaat and BNP and everybody there so he can there. But are the people going to accept it? I think this is the problem of a democracy, a fake democracy like what Bangladesh has become in the past 18
Quick
months.
closing thoughts to Shoaib as well. And Shoaib, before I give you those closing thoughts, weigh in on these words, the meatiest part of what Sheikh Hasina has said. The withdrawal of false cases, the release of all political prisoners, as well as teachers, journalists, intellectuals and professionals, the removal of suspension imposed on the activities of Awami League, restoration of the people's voting rights through the arrangement of a free, fair and inclusive election under a neutral caretaker government. Do you think this neutral caretaker government has been able to deliver upon the promises which in the previous elections we've seen happen between the BNP and the Awami League? Shoaib.
Kansha, actually, I would like to tell you very frankly that I don't trust this statement from being Sheikh Hasina. If it was a video statement from Sheikh Hasina, I would say yes, it is from Sheikh Hasina. It could be written by anyone. Sheikh Hasina is being aloof from the politics from 24th of January this year.
Even if she's not penned it, it's endorsed by Awami League, given that it's been shared on their X handle, and her man Friday has personally sent it to me.
Yeah. I'd like to say that we have to respect this statement because it has come from the Awami League. You said you've seen it personally. And I think we have to respect that because the sentiments expressed in the statement is exactly those that reflect the correct position in Bangladesh. You cannot have a free, fair and inclusive election unless you have a caretaker government. Now the caretaker system is back in the constitution of Bangladesh. Have a caretaker government appointed under the provisions of that clause in the constitution.
All right. I mean,
organize elections include everybody. That's the only answer that the people of Bangladesh will accept.
Absolutely. In fact, we're looking at a time when all of these democratic institutions, whether it's the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, have all been reduced to lame ducks. He was hoping that the right government prevails to power and that they are able to restore democracy to Bangladesh. I mean, there are concerns that India also has, but those are secondary. Primary is that democracy and peace prevail in Bangladesh. Many thanks to you, Ambassador Sikri, and the gentleman for joining in on this discussion.